don't know.
Okay.
So,
It's all good.
yeah. All I have to tell you.
Okay.
Definitely.
Turn your mics on and move phones away from the mics.
Light is on, you put your mics on.
I gotta bring donuts. All right.
Okay, we're ready to roll? Is there an agenda? Sorry, is there an agenda?
You're out here, do you want one?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I'll take one.
John's looking for one too.
Well, since you're
No, she's got the agenda right there.
Oh,
yeah, I had them outside.
okay.
Anyone else need an agenda?
John said one? Okay, you got one here, John. Okay, good. All right, let's call the meeting to order.
These two.
Ask Bryce for the pledge of allegiance.
Don't need them here. You don't need them here. Just don't want to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So roll call
Charles Goodbout,
here,
Casey Noonan, Steve Christensen,
present,
Don
here, Merrick.
Ferricks, Linda Lautner, John Popa, Karma Ross, John Walter, Keith Bedlam,
Badoo, here.
Bedun, Bedun,
Badoo.
Bed-
Badoo.
It's like B-A-D-O-O-N.
Yeah, that's how it's pronounced.
That's how you pronounce it.
Badoo.
That's all right. I'll mess it up next month too. But Beduns. That's all right. There you go. You have a, well, not knowing for sure, but I'll find out. I'm gonna say you have a quorum, but if not, this will be a great discussion. So.
Okay. Usually it's the number of committee members divided by 2 plus 1.
Yeah.
So if we only have 9, it's 5.
That's, I do not disagree with your logic, but I'll make sure. So,
So we have an agenda before us. Do we have any changes, adjustments, modifications that anyone would like to make to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Or
And so I've got Steve moving and John seconding. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody have a conflict of interest with any of the items on today's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. Anyone wishing to make a public comment at this time? Staff comments?
Yes. Any update on John Pope?
none that I'm going to share publicly.
Just curious, that's all. I'm really concerned.
As consideration of the June 5th meeting minutes, and that's 2 different meetings. That is the consideration of the regular session plus the executive session that occurred on June 5th. That's the motion.
Your motion will be including both of those minutes.
All right. Motion and a second. Motion by Don.
Need a second?
Need a second.
I second, well, I thought I seconded.
John, okay.
I should say I motion to approve the minutes of the June 5th executive committee and regular part of the reg session. We also have Veronica Valley in our minutes. so-
You don't have to do those.
We don't have to approve those.
They're just for your information.
They were just approved in the last meeting, their meeting. All right, so all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have no unfinished business. Discussion of action items. Mr. Administrator, your update, please.
Okay. First of all, under the board vacancies, you know, put in your packet, let's go to my other notes here. Where was it? Oh, Mr. Ayers did did present us with his resignation, both from this board and another board that was, he was on. You know, put a copy of his resignation email in your packet. You had asked about other applications, and from the last November packet there, where both John and Keith had been appointed, those recommendations are in there. Just so you know that the county will be going out probably within the next couple of weeks, or by the 1st of November, we will be sending out notes or letters or notices about board appointments and trying to get people to serve on our various boards and commissions. What I'm recommending is that we will not do anything at this point unless you think it's really critical, but I don't see anything that's that critical at this point, to see if there's more applications that come in. And that way, if there's 3 or there's a couple more or whatever, that, you know, if y'all want to take a look at them at your November meeting before the board takes their action, we'll be glad to get those to you, to see who else is out there that may have an interest in serving on this particular board. So
My only point is Carrie's application has been reviewed a couple of times now.
Okay.
And submitted, and other people have been selected,
Mhm.
but she's always been acceptable to be serving on this board
Okay.
commission.
But if you feel like that's number one, then we will make sure we do that in November. So
Actually, I would make a motion now that we ask the board of commissioners to appoint her to this commission at the first available opportunity.
that would be in October.
Right.
The October meeting.
Right.
I
To
mean-
serve out the remainder of John Aaron's term, whatever that is.
Well, let's find out before we do that. If it's not a very long term, I don't know. Wasn't he filling out a term?
December 31.
Huh?
12/31 is term.
So he was expiring this year. I wouldn't go with it then. I'd leave it alone. What we ought to move her forward, if you like that, to a full term by herself. But let's do that when we get more in there and see if there's other, but if the board is, you know, I know the commission will take your all's recommendation at that time, but let's see who else may apply or not apply. But obviously you may have a second opening coming very soon also. So I'll keep you apprised. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I guess I will withdraw the motion at this time.
Yeah. Okay, the other item is, again, I put in a copy in of the late, you know, there's nothing new that's been added, other than we have added the wages and all those kinds of things that will be included in there. So what you see, if you go on the last column where it says 2025 department requests, but if you go right next to it, the blanks, everything that's in that column going all the way down is, or otherwise put in like under maintenance, where it had been 30,000, I'm requesting 40. And where it talked about contractual savings, where I had 18, I'm requesting 20. Other than that, everything is going to remain the same, including the $55,000 for capital for next year. The other thing that I've done is under the staffing levels, the county commission has approved the position of a facilities director, which is a higher level than our maintenance director at this point. You know, it's going to may play up here, but 25% of his time is going to be dedicated to the parks and recreation portion of it. So you'll have a full-time staff working with the Parks and Rec Commission to help guide you through processes, starting, you know, whenever we get the individual hired. They also approved the hiring, not waiting until January 1st, but you know that we've already started the search process for that, advertising for it, so we can get the individual on board sooner rather than later. So Jerry can take everything that's in his head and give it to somebody else's head. So that's what we're going to be doing. Yes,
So
sir.
that's a full-time position.
It's a full-time.
Part of this time is dedicated to the park and rec.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Or thereabouts, you know, but right now,
I
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
So things like where we as individual park committee chairs were preparing scope of work documents.
No, you don't do that anymore.
We
No.
won't do that anymore.
No, your job is totally to be a recommendation body, and that individual will be working through you and bringing your recommendations back to the county commission, or telling you, nope, that's not within the scope of what we have out there. But also be really working to look for grants and working with people that do grants, especially after you get your master plan done, and looking at other grant opportunities. But it'd be a more centralized focus on that, and then everything else that we have with what we have here. So there's no reduction in staff. This is an additional position. The maintenance director we have now, that title will be changed to maintenance supervisor on January 1st, up on or thereabouts, up on the retirement of Jerry. And the other two full-time staff will still also will also remain. So that's what they've approved, and that's what we're going to go with. So, and also we'll still have in there the part-time work for next summer for doing mowing. So, okay. And then last but not least, I haven't changed anything as it relates to capital outlay and contractual service. I didn't change anything there. There's a long list of capital projects. You know, not just yours. No, I'm talking about countywide. The list keeps getting bigger. So hearing some of the comments that I've heard regarding your plan, your master plan, and the work that Tiffany, Miss White, has done. I'm glad to hear that people are excited about what she can bring to the table and help with. So I think we're going to have a good opportunity come February, right after the first of the year, to really start taking some hard action on some things. Your jobs over the next few months will determine out of everything, what is the most critical, you know, but that's what I think Ms. White will help you work your way through to do that. So anyway, I'm truly encouraged, and I thank you guys for your participation, you know, so thanks.
A question on the capital outlay, the 55,000 for 24, will that roll over?
It's already been rolled over.
Has been.
Yeah. 2 months ago, we took the initiative of taking 23 that never got used and just was back into the general fund. And we also took 24 and we moved it all into a special fund to be as a holding place instead of, because at the end of the year, technically, everything that was there cannot roll over. It can't. It's got to start over.
An annual thing?
Huh?
Will it be an annual thing, or that has to be?
Well, it is in the budget for this year. The commission may say yay, or they may say no. For 25, I have requested another $55,000. It's in proposed budget that will be presented to the commission in 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks.
So my question now is, does 25 roll over if we don't use it?
The 55, I've told you, yes, it already has.
2025.
Let me answer it this way. It's a separate decision of the board as to whether to move the 55 for 2025 into the bigger
Well,
fund.
first of all, it's a decision of the board whether they're even going to put 55 into the budget in there. With everything else, they may not. We are recommending it. Staff has recommended, as I showed on the second page here. Let's see here. I can't remember where I put it anyway, but it's in there. We have put it in there that the 55 roll over, that another 55,000 for 25. Whether we roll it over to here sometime or we use it, that's another decision tree. But right now you have $110,000 sitting in the capital improvement fund dedicated to parks, period. That's there right now. That's 23 money. That's 24 money. You have nothing for 25 yet until the county adopts a budget. Okay. Did I make that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but and let's say they only give us $10. Let's say they just give us $10. Will that $10 roll over? There's not a clause.
It'll be in there and we can roll it over and put it into that fund, or we can use it either way. But right now,
So we have the option.
you don't, the county does, but the board does, yes. And what we're recommending, if you don't use it, let's put it this way, if you get the 55,000, if you get it, if they do that and we do a project come after you want to do it for springtime, whatever it is, the $55,000 that if it gets approved in the 25 budget will be the first 55,000 we'll use. So that way we spend it. The other 110 can just sit over here and be wait to be used. If you follow my drift. And if we don't use anything,
Always rolls over.
Well,
So that's my only question.
well, we're not trying to roll it over. We're trying to accumulate it because it can't roll over in the general fund. We have now started rolling it. We are now to put it over here to be held, ready to be used on a project that ultimately gets approved by the county commission.
Yeah, it's a matter of semantics, but it
Yeah, I
doesn't
think that-
automatically.
Right.
No, we have to, action has to be taken to get it there. And this year they allowed us to do, instead of putting another 110, another 55 into this year's budget, we just put it over here because if you hadn't spent it, it'd have been zero. You would have nothing. You got to go through. So we said, let's don't go through this exercise. Let's do it this way. So,
Having the facilities director position could possibly lead to us in our organizing meeting in January, going away from the 3 individual park committees to a committee of the whole.
well, that's one way it could be looked at. You know, that's things we got to work on, but we continue moving that process forward. So, I mean, huh? Do it.
Well, someone looking at the stuff and doing the stuff that we're doing as individual committees. Once we know somebody's doing that, then we can relieve ourselves of doing it.
Yeah.
But right now.
You should not be doing it. Okay, but anyway,
I haven't seen a change yet that makes it where we're not doing it.
okay.
Okay,
I see Laurel Vorbrand's on the contractual services.
Huh? Excuse me?
Laurel Vorbrand.
She's no longer with us.
no,
I mean, I was looking at contractual services from the.
Well, we just left in there. There could be other contractual services that we want to do. We just leave it there. It doesn't mean we're going to use them.
Oh, special plan, okay,
Yeah.
it was just put in, okay, got it.
yeah, that's the money for Laurel for the monkey flowers work next year.
Oh.
She the one that does.
I'm sorry. You're talking about in there. I thought you were talking about somebody else. Yeah,
But we're still.
the pond weed control, these were contractual service and the special plant maintenance. I don't,
That's Laurel.
yeah. That's
the one.
that's the name of her firm is or whatever LLC. So.
Right, okay,
Okay, yeah, those are the 2 contracts. Those are the only 2 that we have right now that are outside of the ordinary.
okay.
You know,
I mean,
I know,
things like the porta potty maintenance. are-
and trash pickup, that's all
Contracted
part,
with somebody.
yeah, that's all part of it. These are special things that you would do that's outside of our normal, so.
We beat that to death.
But anyway, and I will keep you updated as we go through the process, so.
Moving on to upgrading of disc golf course at Mount Sinai and a 502% grant application.
I asked for this to be put on the agenda because I was hoping 9 people would be here to talk about it. So we could talk about it collectively, not just as a committee, but as a whole Park and Rec Commission. And see if this is an item that we feel is a top priority for the commission to propose to the board of commissioners to approve to get this done. And I'd almost like to think if we look at it properly, I almost think it's something we should consider starting, or at least starting to do this year, maybe even finish this year. And I'll explain why. The other thing is that I noticed on the MCSA, is that what, did I say it right? The 5-year plan that they're going to work on, we're involved with. They recommended the practice course be started as a top item. But I would like to really actually upgrade the main course and include the short course in addition, and I'll tell you why. On page 24 of your handout, where you guys hopefully have a handout on page 24. It shows the cost. And the cost of the main course is $12,846. Some of that I think is really can be maintenance, and Richard, you'll have to help me on this. The new T signs are replacing ones that are shabby and written over, and so it becomes a maintenance item in my book.
Well, your book, our book may be different books,
I
but that's.
understand, but for this sheet anyway, that's why there's an asterisk under $1,800. The other asterisk is under $2,000, And that's to replace the T-pads on 5 and 17 holes of the main course. There's an obstruction in there that they can't relieve without a problem, and moving them over is a better way to do it. Well, you can move them over, that can be done easy, that doesn't cost a lot of money, take them up and move the posts over. But the T's have to be moved, and that costs under $2,000. And that's from an estimate from Cherry Capital Asphalt or something that Greg out here in the audience can talk about later if he wants. So those are two maintenance items under $12,000. It wouldn't go into our capital thing, so that's almost $4,000 out of the $12,000. And as you can see, the main cost is the new baskets. Now, the new baskets are $470 each. And we costed about, there's some comparable prices of other baskets, not the same basket, for $485 and $799. So there's different baskets out there. So $470 seems like a reasonable price to replace the ones we have. It's an upgrade that the disc golf people would like, and I think it's probably appropriate. Greg checked with two other companies, distributors for the baskets, and it's the same price depending on which distributor you use. I think we have one other one, not two, right? So we just have the one and then two. So we have two of the same price. So, and it's not an item that is negotiable on a lower price. So I'm thinking we don't have to get since it's over $4,000, it's $8,700. Maybe there's some special approval that the board will do. Given the nature of the money on this one.
Well, this is all one big project, which you want to do, so it all can't be separated. It'll have to all come out as one project.
Okay, I'll go on. Now, and then there's a shipping fee of $286. That comes up to the $1,260. That $2,000, if you look at it, it's going to be combined with $5,900 for all the cement work that's being done for the short course. The short course is cement work, putting in the tees to sink in the post, to sink in the baskets. It's a lot of cement work. It requires a cement truck coming out, pouring all this stuff. It's not something that we can get, people on a weekend to do. And it's expensive. And you don't want a cement truck coming out twice because you're gonna pay for it twice. So why not just do the short course, the main course together for the cement work for sure. The other reason is when we upgrade the baskets on the main course with the new baskets, there's going to be these old baskets. They're not old, but they're not as desirable. And we'll use those on the short course. So the cost for the baskets on the short course is zero, except for the putting them in the ground and whatnot. And that's under the cement work. So you get an upgrade plus a short course, and which is really like not just for practice. People that really play disc golf really like the short course. They use that too. They get that for under $20,000. I think let's see, $20,000. Maybe you add 10% for cost, whatever I'm not thinking about, and it's $22,000. So I think it's an inexpensive thing. And I think if you pull the right strings, not me, we can get this done this year, so it's ready for the spring next year. That's the thing that I would like to see happen. Any questions?
When we're taking the old baskets out, can we reuse that 4x4 or whatever the post is for them? How does that work?
That's on a middle. Greg, you want to come up and talk on this? Sure.
Well, first of all, you all have to have your conversation first, so. Go
We
ahead.
haven't got a motion yet.
No.
To answer your question.
Well, first of all, let's back up here.
Expertise on this
Go.
call. I need Greg to answer your question. That's appropriate.
Go ahead, come on up.
Yes, to answer your question, the baskets.
Sit down, please.
Sorry.
You got a speaker there.
The baskets that I had sent to Don were through the same manufacturer of the baskets that are currently there. So the ground anchors that are cemented into the ground now could stay the same because they match the same pole diameter. So you would only need to do the ground anchors on the short course. So you wouldn't have to pull concrete or replace the sleeves at all.
So it's a reuse of the old support for the old basket for the new basket.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah, and they're metal, right? It's a metal pole.
Yes, it's got it's just a sleeve that the pole slides into and locks into.
Could the old baskets be sold to offset the cost of the new?
Let's put them on the short course.
Yeah, then we would have a short course.
Okay.
Now, that pole is in cement, right?
Yes, it is.
So all that has to be done really is to dig a hole and put it in, or do you have to add more cement maybe too?
For the original course,
No, for the practice course.
for the practice course, I'd recommend putting in something like a 5 gallon bucket. That way it's contained and then just dropping it in the hole and covering it with soil.
What are the baskets in now, though? They're in a bucket now?
I don't believe they're in buckets. I think they just dug a hole and poured the concrete into it.
So when you extract that, this post that we want is in there, but it's surrounded by concrete, so you're gonna take that to the short course.
So on the current course, on the original course, it's cemented into the ground. You just unlock it. There's a tongue with a padlock around it. You just unlock it, pull the basket out of the sleeve, and then you could put it into the sleeve on the short course. The new baskets will fit into the old sleeve.
But we're talking about the metal post can be reused, I thought, no?
Yes, the ground anchor can. The baskets come with a pole, a catching tray, and a chain assembly on the top.
There's a post.
Well, the post is gonna, the post on.
Post goes inside a sleeve that's in the concrete. Post goes inside a sleeve that's
Correct.
in the concrete.
Those posts stay at the existing cost. You need new posts for the short course.
And the posts, so purchasing the new baskets, they will come with new sleeves. And since they're interchangeable, you don't have to pull the old ones out.
Which is what you're gonna wanna put into concrete.
Correct.
Now, the agenda item speaking to asking for a tribal 2% grant.
Okay.
For this project.
The,
I believe that has to be submitted fairly soon.
it has to be submitted by November the 31st. We will be sending out a notice, I think what, October 1st? We're gonna send out a notice for anybody to apply for a 2% grants. This was recommended by Commissioner Ross, that this is a project that we should use to go for a 2% grant, which, you know, we can do. You won't get the work done this spring, but it could be done, and you won't get it done in the fall, but the grant has to be, to go through the process, we have to go and get permission to apply for the grant at the meeting in October from the city commission to apply for it. We put together the application. And then in November, we would then turn around and approve that application and send it to the tribe by the end of November. I think it takes them, what, 2 months? They'll let us know in January. They know if you've been awarded or not awarded.
And there's no guarantee that we can get it, but could it be retroactive? We can be working on the project?
No, it cannot be retroactive.
Okay.
No.
That was my next question.
No. And so I believe that is something that Commissioner Ross will be pretty adamant about. This, what we should be doing. And I'm going to have to work with you to make sure we get a better narrative than just, because this is probably about the third different version of prices I've seen so far that keeps coming around across my desk. So you and I can we can put together a package to be given to the county commission for us, allowing us to apply for the grant. So, you know, and we would use some money from that 110,000 or 55,000 to use as a match. So that's what we would go for. So.
As far as the tribal grants are concerned, there's no real matching funding requirement for them.
Well, it doesn't, but it may make our application look a little better if we ask for 75% and willing to fund the other
I don't
20.
think there's any match requirement to go for those grants.
But it may the grant look better. You know, it's like a lot, it's like a lot of grants. All you got to do is come up 25%, but if you get 30%, you get more points. It's all in a point system. So anyway.
So the motion for this meeting, I think, is that we would ask the Board of Commissioners in their October meeting to allow us to go forward with a grant application for the 2% travel grant for this project.
That's correct.
So move.
That's, well, discussion.
Well, you need a second first.
Second, I'm going to second.
Okay. Second discussion. But I want to be clear that, you know, I don't want to railroad this just for Miles County. I believe that we should all be working together. And if we all feel that this is the project we want to work on this year or early next year, from now, is that what we want to do? And we should agree on that before we apply for the 2%.
Well,
From everything I've heard,
I
this,
think it's already, it's obvious that we're gonna do this.
Well, if everybody
It's
agrees.
It's not very
well,
expensive.
that's why you're gonna have a vote.
Yeah.
And those that are here. This is after on the agenda, so it's a public discussion, so.
and from everything I've heard from the folks at Miles Kimberly, that represent Miles Kimberly Park, this is your top priority item. So why would I go against you from my perspective, when this is your park's top priority item?
And the reason is because Veronica Valley and all the settlers may have,
We can
something
go,
that they feel.
we can go forward with their project just like we're doing with this one.
Well,
But there's $110,000 currently available to spend.
if it's, I'm gonna advise you. Wait till you get your plan done, because you may be going down past you shouldn't be going down.
No, I don't think it should be first come, first served. It should be we collectively.
Well, it's obviously you did, but I mean, that's fine.
This is the project that we, and the areas I presented to the whole group, because I think it's the appropriate way to do it. Number one, number two, Miles Kimberly, committee is -1 already, and we have trouble meeting. So,
Any further discussion?
anybody objecting to this being the top priority for this year and early next year?
I see this moving forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
So all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? Now, going forward.
I will put that together as a recommendation from this park to use this. You and I will have to get together sometime between the rest of this month to make sure I get the right narrative. Like I said, I've seen I don't know if this is the same one, but see 3 or 4 different versions. So let's get the
Sure.
right one that we're going to use.
You're absolutely positive about the 2% grant. It can't be retroactive to something or.
I will check, but I am not going to do anything retroactive. I don't think they want to know something going forward.
I thought I heard something about that. It's a different group.
Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
I mean, this is not a must-move project without necessarily getting the grant.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
That's my feeling.
What's that?
This is not a must-move ahead project without having gotten the grant.
If you don't get the grant next spring, by the time we find out you didn't get the grant, you're going to be totally done with your parks master plan. So all that will be out there again. So, I mean, it's going to remain in the parks master plan until it gets funded or it gets completed. So it should anyway. All right.
I agree with you.
Okay. Changes to the monthly meetings beginning in September.
Okay.
So actually, that's September, October.
I'm saying September. So because I may want you to look at what I write up about the Miles Kimberly 2% grant between now and then. So that you get to have an idea about it.
I had,
But anyway, the request is because if we were having this meeting later on, or if we had had it 2 weeks ago, I could have put this on the agenda, but I probably wouldn't have, because you got to wait till October. But we could have done this come September, the Wednesday or Thursday after the commission's regular meeting. Then I would have done this and had it ready for the next meeting. You would have seen it. You would get it ready to go. And that's what I want you to think about. Now, I may just say, I have it on here. I really don't want you to do anything, because now that we're going to have another person coming in here, he may have some different ideas. So I should have just left it off until the next person gets out. But what I'm trying to get you to is, like, you came up with this. Now, if this had been just regular spending money, it'd be one thing. I would not have been able to put it on this coming agenda for next Tuesday morning. We are loaded up getting the agenda that's been prepared from last week, getting all that done. Don't have time to add another item. And I personally do not like adding items at the last minute on the agenda, because the public doesn't have time to see that. That's just my rule that I have. Unless it's an emergency, the world's going to fall apart if we don't do it. I try not to do that. That's just, I wouldn't do it to you, and I don't want to do anybody else. And that's why, and so that we can get it, The thing is, for you, this group to give a recommendation, that means you're waiting a month to get out here and get it on the county's agenda. If you do it back here, you're only waiting 2 weeks. It's just the timing. It's all in timing. That's all it is. But, but then token, I can't do it the same week I'm having a county commission meeting. I'm trying to pick a date that every month is going to change, and come the first of the year. If you're agreeing to it, I'll just set it up all for next year, because there's not a whole lot more that's going to happen this year anyway. So I'll try to set it up that way if I have your permission to bring it to you at your organizational meeting in January. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, I mean,
And I'll have a calendar of everything that's on.
we just know that our next couple meetings, if we want to move something forward, that we're gonna be having about 6 weeks between our meeting and the board of commissioners doing anything,
Yeah.
unless it's an emergency thing.
If it's an emergency, then we won't even be waiting for you. We'll be doing it if it's that bad, so.
Okay, so right now, where I put down the 19th of September would have been our meeting based on what you want to
Yeah.
do.
And then in that case, then the October meeting is on October the 1st, so we would have had it ready for that. But, because we're getting close to the end of the year, I guess I'll wait, and I'll probably be here by the end of the year. So I'll wait till your organizational meeting and we can get that accomplished. Okay. I'll just bring it up and have a complete calendar and a list, and that way everyone, I'll get it to you in advance so you can be thinking about it. And that way you're ready for it. I'll have it ready for you at your December meeting, or I'll just, if you don't want to have a December meeting, I'll email it to the board, and at least they could take a look at it and be ready to think about it. So. Does that make some sort of logical sense? I know, Steve, I know, Steve, that you will miss all this, but that's okay. Don't worry, we're gonna draft you one way or the other anyway. So you might as well.
I hear the phone ringing already.
Yeah. Do you hear the train coming down the track yet? It's got a head of steam.
Whoa.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're really gonna move this to start the revised new schedule with 2025.
Okay.
And that would actually move our organizational meeting later in
We could-
January also, probably.
We could talk, well, you could probably do your organizational meeting and then have another meeting in January too. We can talk about that later, Mr. Sheriff.
All right, so let's move on to the park reports. So let's go with Miles Kimberly, anything to report?
Nothing.
Old Settlers Park. I went over to the park as part of the Tiffany's tour. Did see that the concrete pad has been poured. Although now the gravel needs to be added, more gravel needs to be added and whatnot and graded. And I think we want to use that chips and fines stuff that tacks down. To get, essentially get it where they can get to the porta potties and there's no bump to go over. So they will in fact be ADA compliant and UA acceptable. So that would be something we need to do. I looked at the monkey flower platform. I saw that the lattice work is up on all the sides now, so that's taking care of that MMRMA item. I did look at the chips under the swing set. It's not in compliance with what is necessary for MMRMA. The total dimensions of that, where the chips are to be, is actually a lot bigger than where you put them. Right now, you just put them directly under the swing. They're supposed to actually extend out in front of the swings and behind the swings, twice the height of the pole to the top of the swing, which was like 24 feet in front and 24 feet behind. And
Okay.
also, chips are supposed to be 6 feet away from the side poles coming down. So if in other words, you need to go out 6 feet. So we need to buy a bunch more chips. And they're also supposed to be dug out so you can actually put the chips in to a depth of up to 12 inches.
Got it.
That will put us into the requirements for the MMRMA.
Okay.
Otherwise,
20 feet beyond is a long ways.
I know it's a long way, and actually, we may not be able to go that whole dimension.
Well, that's understandable, but what they've got right now, what they did was,
Well, I actually want to,
safer, but, you know, you're going 20 feet out, you're looking at, like 50, 60 to 80 yards, that's a long ways out. I mean, they were covering
I agree, but I mean,
grass and
the risk manager for MMRMA gave us the specifics. And also Tiffany agreed because she actually is a person who does that risk assessment work. And she said that's the standards that we're supposed to be adopting. So
Okay,
I got two people telling me that's what I'm supposed to do.
okay. Thank you. I'll follow up.
Okay, so that's my report for Old Settlers. And I said the Old Settlers picnic went well, from everything I've heard. We do have the project, we have to do something to get about fixing the water system. So that's gonna have to be a next year project, I'm guessing.
That's good. Once again, it's gonna have to be a decision tree. Is that more important than something else? So. I mean, and the question is that more important of having domestic water all over the park or just in one place? It's a theoretical question that hopefully through this exercise, you all come up with that.
Actually, one more thing.
But it's still on a list. So I mean, it's not going away yet, so.
I originally had on this agenda asking to go out and for proposals for the gazebo work again. But after talking to Tiffany on the tour and whatnot, for the existing gazebo, because of the stairs, is neither UA nor ADA compliant for accessibility. So her recommendation actually is that we take down the existing gazebo and replace it with a ground level gazebo, a steel one or a metal one, or a vinyl clad metal one, whatever color we want. But she was gonna go out and get an estimate for what that would look like. That's why I pulled up the agenda, rather than go down the path to refurbish the existing one and still have it not compliant. All right, moving on to Veronica Valley.
Okay, Seven did I guess you call it overspray. They killed too much of the vegetation apparently. So I think next year we'll definitely have Heather from DNR more involved with that. If we do something totally different. So that took away too much of the fish habitat, if you want to call it that.
So this is in the pond.
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we had also discussed with Tiffany, the ADA/UA pathway, which apparently she thought it was a good idea if we work together with Miles Kimberly that also wants a pathway. If we can combine the two projects, that also makes positive for grant writing. So look at, okay, same thing with our shelter. Gazebo shelter, I don't know how we want to define that. But because Old Settlers is looking for a building, and we're looking for a building, if we could also combine those two projects. Again, that might look favorable with grant writing. So we discussed that. Again, going back to the ponds, again, I think we're gonna have to consult some experts on next year's process, whether we spray it, figure out a way to somehow dredge the algae out of there or something. But again, apparently it was quite disappointing to have too much of it killed off. So, I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else, Steve?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Anything you want to say? Okay. I'll go back to now the public comment. Is there anyone in the public who wants to make an additional comment this time? Staff comments on the pictures or Laura?
I don't know why that's on there twice, but that's okay. That's,
My staff comments is on there twice?
yeah, but
It's always on the beginning and the end of the meeting. It's the way we've always done it.
Well, it doesn't mean that we have to keep doing it, so
No.
I may remove the second one. If I didn't say it the first time, I'm definitely not gonna say it a second time, so.
Could be some comment that came to mind after we had the discussion of everything else.
Oh, don't worry, I'll let you know what I think during the discussion, so.
Commissioners, anyone, any you want to make an additional comment at this time?
I'm good.
You're good? You're good. Okay. Just, my comment is, I mean, my prayers are with John and Paul. I mean, I guess that was a horrific accident. And from what I'm hearing peripherally.
Okay,
He's not.
have we done?
Huh?
You done?
I'm done. I don't need to say any more about it.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn?
Support.
You don't
All in
need,
favor of adjourning? Aye.
you don't need motions, so. Chair,
Sounds-
chair can adjourn. What time did we get started? Do you remember about?
It was like 3:08.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You know, why the other members of the committee are here.
Aren't they supposed to like email or something like that or notify?
There used to be the process where we would send out a notice of essentially a forum call
Right.
to tell us whether we're gonna be here or not. Richard doesn't do that.
Well, I'm trying to make sure that I notify Veronica people that, you know, upcoming things and